No soap, no showers. So were they filthy? England, the year 1350. A man breaks a skin of ice on the water in his wash basin and splashes the freezing water over his face and hands, the way he does every single morning. He has no soap in the modern sense, no shower, and nothing you would call toilet paper. And yet the idea that he never washed, that medieval people were filthy and stank their way through life, is almost entirely a lie. The truth is stranger and far cleaner than you were taught. Here's what happened. Medieval people could not shower, but they washed constantly, hands and face at least once a day, often more, with an entire system for staying clean that we have forgotten. They believed clean linen pulled the dirt straight out of your skin, so a fresh shirt was their version of a bath. They had soap, they had public bath houses, they had toilets, and even someone whose job was to empty them. Over the next few minutes we will walk through a medieval day, and by the end you will understand why the real filthy age came later and who decided to blame the wrong people. Start with the hands, because in a medieval household the hands were washed more often than almost anything else. Before a meal, a servant carries a jug and a basin to the table, and everyone rinses their fingers in scented water. After the meal, they do it again. This is not just manners. People eat with their hands from shared dishes, so clean fingers are a matter of basic decency, and a guest with filthy hands is an insult to the whole table. Faces get the same treatment. Most people wash their face and hands first thing in the morning, splashing cold water from a basin, sometimes warmed over the fire in winter. The water might be scented with herbs, rose, sage, or chamomile, both for the smell and because people believed sweet scents were good for the body. What they did not do was submerge the whole body every day, and this is where the myth begins. To a medieval mind, dunking yourself in a great tub of hot water was a treat, an event, not a daily habit. Daily cleanliness happened at the basin, and it happened constantly. But washing the skin was only half of it. The other half hung in the wardrobe. Here is the secret that makes the whole system work. Medieval people believed that clean linen literally cleaned your body. Against the skin, everyone who could afford it wore linen, a shirt or a smock, braised underneath. Linen is absorbent, and physicians taught that it drew out sweat, oil, and dirt. Change your linen, and you changed your dirt. A fresh white shirt was, in their eyes, the same thing as a wash. This is why the wealthy were judged not by how often they bathed, but by how white and how frequent their linen was. A rich man might own dozens of shirts and change daily. A poor laborer might own two and wash one while wearing the other. Laundry, then, was serious work. It was done by women, the launderers, who boiled the linen in lye made from wood ash, beat it against stones or with wooden bats, and spread it on grass or bushes to bleach white in the sun. A great household might do one enormous wash, called the Great Buck, only every few weeks. So when you imagine a medieval person, do not picture grime. Picture a bright white shirt, changed and boiled and bleached. Their cleanliness was something you could see, and it was hanging on the line. Now for the part everyone gets wrong. Medieval towns were full of public baths. In England, they were called stews, from the word for the steam that filled them, and by the 1200s a town of any size had several. You paid your penny, and inside you found wooden tubs, lined with cloth so the splinters would not bite, filled with hot water, and sometimes strewn with herbs and rose petals. People soaked, they talked, they drank, and often they ate a full meal on a board laid across the tub. Bathing was social, sometimes men and women together, And that is exactly where the trouble began. Many stews sat in the same districts as brothels, and in London the two words nearly became one. Then came two disasters. Plague made people terrified of crowds and shared water, and around 1495 a new and horrifying disease, syphilis, swept across Europe. The bathhouses, warm, wet, and crowded, were blamed for spreading it. One by one they closed. In 1546, King Henry VIII shut down the famous stews of Southwark for good. The medieval world had bathed in public for centuries. It was the modern world, not the medieval one, that decided bathing itself was dangerous and locked the doors. And yes, they had soap. Soap making was a real trade in medieval Europe, with its own guilds in towns like Bristol and Coventry. The everyday kind was a soft, dark jelly made by boiling animal fat with lye leached from wood ash, harsh enough to strip a greasy pot or a load of laundry. But there was luxury soap too. In the Spanish region of Castile, makers boiled olive oil instead of animal fat to make a hard, white, sweet-smelling bar, and Castile soap became a prized import for the rich, scented with herbs, and sold at a price a peasant could never dream of. Teeth were not neglected either. People scrubbed them with a rough linen cloth, then rubbed on tooth powders of ground sage, salt, and crushed herbs, and freshened the breath by chewing mint or cloves. Some frayed the end of a hazel twig into soft bristles and used it as a brush. And here's the twist. Medieval people often had better teeth than we do because their diet had almost no sugar. Rotten smiles are a problem of later centuries, when cheap sugar flooded in from the colonies. So the picture of a toothless, reeking peasant is mostly fantasy. He cleaned his teeth, and he had fewer cavities than you. Which leaves the question everyone wants answered. What about the toilet? And what about the paper that did not exist? Indoors, most people used a chamber pot, emptied each morning into a cesspit, a gutter, or, in the worst households, out of a window into the street. In castles and manors, the toilet was a garderobe, a stone seat built into the thick outer wall, with a shaft that dropped the waste down into a pit or the moat below. Towns built public latrines too. In London, a merchant named Richard Whittington paid for an enormous public privy known as Whittington's Longhouse, with more than 120 seats set over a channel flushed by the tide. As for paper, there was none. People wiped with whatever was soft and to hand, a bundle of hay, moss, a handful of wool, or torn scraps of old cloth. And the cesspits had to be emptied. That grim job belonged to the gong farmers, who worked only at night, hauling out human waste by the bucket. It paid surprisingly well, and it killed. In 1326, a Londoner named Richard the Raker fell through the rotten planks of his own privy and drowned in the filth beneath. Even the toilet, in the end, had its price. So where did the filthy Middle Ages come from? Two answers, and both are surprising. The first is that yes, medieval people did have one thing crawling on them constantly: lice. Almost everyone had them, rich and poor alike, and picking the lice out of each other's hair was not shameful but sociable, an intimate thing done between family members, friends, and even at court. It was grooming, a way of showing care. The second answer is the real twist. The truly filthy age was not the Middle Ages at all. It came later, after the plagues and the syphilis panic. Europeans of the 15 and 1600s decided that water itself was dangerous, that a hot bath opened the pores and let disease creep in. So they stopped bathing almost entirely and tried to stay clean with dry linen and perfume instead. The unwashed, powdered aristocrat is a figure of the Renaissance and after, not the medieval village. And centuries later, the Victorians, proud of their sewers and their soap, looked back and painted the whole medieval world as a stinking, ignorant place to make themselves look advanced. The dirty Middle Ages were never medieval. They were an insult invented by the people who came after and repeated until we believed it. Next time someone tells you medieval people were filthy, you will know better. They washed daily, changed their linen, bathed in public, and cleaned their teeth. And it was the modern world that stopped. If you like history that overturns what you thought you knew, subscribe to Curious History. Next time, we open the door on what a medieval peasant ate in a single day. New stories every week.